bonus session. And so we have a couple guests here today that I'll be working with individually. And once I go through and work with both Pam and Robin, I am going to be taking everyone into a little bit of a guided meditation. And that guided meditation is going to be specifically around what I call the soul needs of personalities. Some of you know that I have been a trainer and I do workshops for different corporations and different businesses. And one of the topics that I teach on is a topic that I've named the soul needs of personalities. And really what it is when we come in looking through a specific lens. In other words, when we take the human form, we come in specifically looking at the world in a certain way. And so when I bring on our guests today, I'm going to ask them to share a little bit about what kind of personality they've always had, what it is that they've done, what are they doing now for work, where are they getting hung up, what are they noticing is happening, are they getting stuck in their head or their heart, or are they having issues being consistent, or are they procrastinating? All of these things are kind of clues, and each and every one of you will receive something, because I'm sure you'll be able to relate with a little bit about what's being shared here. And then as that occurs, as I guide them into I take them along the path, I'm going to be inviting you all to do the same. So each of you might be a little bit different because we are all unique, but I will be addressing the different soul needs of personalities, which will be really helpful for each of you, regardless of whether or not you can totally relate to our guest today. So I want to bring on our very first recipient, and I'm just going to unmute your microphone, Pam, and I'm going to turn your camera on.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. So thank you very much for being with us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, if you would, to please share with the audience. They know your name's Pam. If you want to share your full name, you're certainly welcome to. Where you're from, what drew you to the course, and what it is that you're noticing so far in our time together.
My name is Pam Shanfrau, and my company is AC Resources, and I provide bookkeeping for small businesses and nonprofits. I have a staff of 4 people. What interested me in the course is I just finished a business course, and that in the business course, that allowed my business to grow. And what I found was that there were a lot of people in the business course that were using their intuition. So when I got done with the business course, I thought, just at that time is when I heard from Michelle and I saw what she was offering. And I said, you know what, now that I've come this far, I'd really like to use my intuition in my business. And then that's what made me sign up right away.
Okay, perfect. So let's take just a moment, Pam, and talk about your personality. So you mentioned that you have a business, you have 4 different employees, that you're intrigued with the idea of following your intuition. As you know, we're right at the completion of the 2nd trimester. We've gone through self-awareness, we've gone through self-trust. We're moving now into really integrating and standing in our truth, really being able to trust the information, trust how it is that we intuitively receive. What are you noticing? Where might you feel yourself spinning or getting stuck, or what is working for you? You know, use your intuition here and share what feels good.
Because I'm getting more in touch and more in tune, I have a very high tolerance level with staff. And so what has been very strong for me, especially in the past 8 weeks, is about what I'm willing to tolerate. And I'm finding, because I'm in tune, I'm finding that I'm holding it all in my body. And so, and I'm also finding that this is not the way that I want to work. And I'm trying to, you know, not be afraid of a staff person that if they leave, who's going to do the work? That's always been that has been my fear that I've been working on. And so intuitively, I did a meditation a couple of weeks ago. I did a writing meditation. What I found was that it was everything I wrote, like really, I got confirmation about, when I reread what I had written, I got reconfirmation, and I forget now exactly what happened in my reconfirmation, but where it was saying, like, this is a time to make the change, because you can't be treated like this, you can't be spoken to this way, and in order to grow, this is absolutely what you need to take. And maybe if I had not gone through this class, I would have continued to try to make it work.
Okay, so that we can receive intuition. When you really gave that some consideration and gave that some thought, which of the clairs resonated with you the most? That's my first question. And then the second question is, in terms, you just mentioned in terms of kind of being in your head a little bit and recognizing that, gosh, if I wouldn't have wrote this down, I might have stayed stuck there. In terms of your personality, your employees, people who know you, maybe your husband, different people, your friends, would you say that that fear that you had about, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can replace this person, I don't know if the timing's right, I don't know how this is going to work, is that more of a fear of not getting things right, or is that more of a fear of losing control? So sit with those questions for a minute, in terms of the clair, and then in terms of the fear.
There were a lot of the clairs that I did sense, because I have heard things. I've heard whispers on occasion, and it's more just knowing. It's just a knowing.
Of not being right, or was it more of a fear of losing control?
It was fear of losing control.
Okay. I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about, as far as the 4 different personalities, there are 4 primary personality types. We all fall under, just like with the clairs, we fall under all of them, but there's usually a primary that controls us at some point or another. It could control us in our personal relationship, it can control us at work, etc. Because you signed up for this course specifically for work, and when it comes to wanting to be in control, these are people that I call the analyzer types. And when you have a tendency to analyze, you're very detailed, which goes right along with your line of work. You're very detailed, you're very systematic, you're a fact finder, you're very organized, you're concise, you're accurate with everything. But when it comes time for the soul, and where we can get hung up, remember I said we all come in with different lenses of perception, controlled work and perfection tendencies is where you can get hung up. So because you have to be in control, and because you need to feel like things are in order, when you're not in control, your world can get scary, because you feel like you are in charge. And so your small self gets in the way of big self in the fact that it feels like it has to take over. Now this is where self-trust was huge, and that's where you're recognizing through self-awareness and through doing some of these practices that you release, you let go, you trust your source, you trust higher wisdom, you trust the universe, call it what you will, to kind of take over. What happens is when a soul who comes in with the lens of needing precision, needing to be precise, when they come in with that need of control, when they're under pressure, and just sit with this and notice if this is you, they have a tendency to kind of clam up. They will become negative. They can get very bossy, like, you know what? If I'm not in control, I'm going to get out of control. because that's the way that it's going to be. So this is very, you know, this is key for this particular personality type. And I see you kind of laughing and smiling. So I'm just going to ask you, can you relate to any of this?
Yes, I can. I can.
So here, what I want to give you here is just something that you can take with you when you go into the guided meditation. And anybody listening, if you recognize this in your personality, I'd like for you to just kind of feel into this as well. Your fear of losing control goes along with your fear of being wrong. Mm-hmm. And so there's this fear that comes up where maybe I'm going to be wrong, and then I'm going to be sorry because I gave that control up, and now I'm going to somehow be made to look stupid in some way. My competency will be challenged. It's all about the head. We get too stuck in our thoughts and in our head with this particular personality type, and so we fear looking incompetent and being intellectually challenged. In other words, I'm going to somehow be in pain because I didn't think this through. I followed my heart. I gave in too quickly to my gut. I didn't bring enough logic into it, and therefore I gave up control and I made a mistake. And so when you go through the doorway of intuition today, and that's what I'm calling it, I'd like for you, Pam, to pick, because I'm going to have 4 different doorways, I'd like for you to pick the doorway of the analyzer, because it's going to be helpful for you to come out the other side by giving up that need to control, which you have been. You've been doing that. But it's really going to give you the tools that you need, because this is all going to be intuitive based. It's nothing that I'm going to do. It's what you're going to do. Your higher self is going to come in today and it's going to guide you by giving you specific ways, specific techniques for you to continue to release that need to want to be in control. This can be one of the biggest hang-ups. Now, the twin to this, and this is where I feel like you're going to be able to relate a little bit as well. The twin to this is what I call the director personality. And you had mentioned, you know, being the female boss. We can also lean into this. It's taking action. It's really feeling like you have to be to the point, that you have to show that male energy and be very confident. You know, and males do this too. That you have to be very decisive, that you have to be a go-getter. This is a different lens, but it can be just as powerful, depending on the hat we're kind of wearing today and with who. You might be different with your employees, per se, compared to what you are with your clients. These two, as I call them, they're kind of twins, soul personality types. How you can really know is if you had to choose between people, I love people, and I'd rather spend all my time with people, or you'd rather do a to-do list and get your tasks done. If you choose to-do lists and get it done tasks over people, and that's your first choice, you're an analyzer, you're a director. And that's okay. I mean, there's different personality types. And so the director type, being more of a go-getter, being more confident, their fear is being wrong, of being judged. And this is the director type. And we all, again, have gone through these different phases in our life. And I'm going to be talking about these. But how this works is when you're under pressure and you're a director type of personality. Some people call this the steamroller. You yell, you bully, you have arrogant tendencies where you act like you're better than, you might lose your temper, you might get short with people, and it's because you have this fear of being judged. Deep down, you have such high perfectionist tendencies of yourself that you feel like you're not enough. And when that happens, you have this fear of being overpowered. You hold the bar for everybody else really, really high, because that way, if you critique and judge everybody else and you keep them all with this bar and it continues to raise, you don't have to look at your own flaws and your own insecurities. The biggest fear, whereas the analyzer is afraid to be made to look stupid intellectually, the director, their fear is to be physically harmed in some way. And this is why they bully. They have a lot of anger inside of them, and we all recognize different personalities. This was my primary for years. And a lot of people are like, you? No way. Yes. I was a big, big bully, a big steamroller. And so I did not want to be harmed. I had a heart that was so, so loving, but I didn't want anybody to get close to me, so I kept everybody at arm's length. And so why are these things important? Some of you might be like, why are we talking about soul needs and personalities, and why are we doing this in the elite seats? It's not quite what I envisioned. This is huge, everybody, because when your ego hangs on to certain fears, certain qualities, certain characteristics, and it has a tendency to look through the lens, it can affect your intuition in powerful, very powerful ways. And so one of the things that I'd like to do before we kind of move to Rob and Pam is I want to just ask you a couple different questions around this being task-oriented, taking action, or being precise, the need to really be in control. When you wrote that down and you began to trust yourself and you looked at that piece of paper and you recognized that, wow, the timing was right. I could follow my inner wisdom. I could trust myself. What happened? What's been going on with you since?
I think well, since then, and this has all been fairly recent, but it's just more trusting, just more like, yes, this is the right path. You know, it was hard for me to make the decision, you know, of a change that I had to make, but then when I made it, and then I went back and I looked at what I wrote, it was almost like I teared up, because it was really like a loving voice that was telling me that this is why it has to happen, and this is why it's going to be good, and it's only going to be good. That's the only way it's going to go, is better. And so so that was pretty much it.
Okay. Now one last thing, and this is following my intuition here. When it comes to you being able to trust your intuition in making decisions for your business, and being able to have tools and techniques that you can use to know when to make that call, when to end a relationship, all of those things, how trustworthy are you in this happening? On a scale from like 1 to 10, 10 being best, where are you at right now?
Maybe 6 or 7.
Okay. Okay. One of the things that I'm going to share with everyone is, we talked about this in one of the modules already, where I talked about the importance of balance. We talk about, if you bring in too much thoughts and too much head, you get stuck in logic and you're not really listening to your inner voice or deeper truth. And we also talked about how if you're in your heart and you base everything on emotion, you can become overwhelmed and you can make some really poor decisions because you're following too much feeling. You're giving it too much acceleration in terms of feeling. And so when you're making decisions, and we're going to go into this with the next module, the module is spiritual yes and spiritual no. And so for you, Pam, and for anybody who's more of a task-oriented individual, where you feel more comfortable with to-do lists than you do people. It's not like you don't like people, but you just feel like you're accomplishing more when you check off that list versus hanging out with people all day long type of thing. And so what I'd like for you to recognize, if you're more of a task-oriented person, is that when you get stuck in your head, when you get stuck in logic, and you go into on an intuitive path, if you go to the extreme, now I want you to imagine there's a stream,
Yeah.
and that's flow.
Mm-hmm.
One side of the stream is logic, head. The other side of the stream is heart, emotion. Mm-hmm. When you go to the extreme of something and you go to the opposite, so now I'm no longer in my head, I'm going to follow my intuition by using my heart, you can jump without any type of logic and then be sorry. So I'm not saying this is happening because you're not there. You're slowly, moving into stream, which is wonderful. Yeah. But people can take it and go too far. So I want to mention that when we get into the next module, I'm going to teach you specifically, whether you're in head or you're in heart, how you can stay in flow without going from one opposite to the other. Because what people have a tendency to do, and it doesn't matter what personality type they are, whether you're raising children, let's say you had a pretty crappy childhood and your parents weren't very affectionate, so now you're going to smother your kids. We go to the extreme. That's what happens a lot of times. People go to the opposite extreme to try to make up for something. Oh, I was poor as a kid, so now I'm going to spoil my children. Well, their children grow up spoiled, so then they raise their kids and don't give them a whole lot. This happens. It just keeps going back and forth. It doesn't matter what it is. There's a balance. And so that's what flow is balance. So I want you just to recognize, Pam, we're not asking you to give up your logic or to give up that beautiful ability to be precise and to be detailed and to think things through. But we are asking you to release the need to control it and to recognize that you do have a deeper inner wisdom that can give you that precision when it comes to timing, when it comes to understanding, when it comes to knowing. That's
okay. Totally get it.
Okay. Good. All right. So do you have anything else that you'd like to add or any other comments before I switch over to Robin?
Oh, just real quick, there was one other thing that happened. I was making a package for one of my clients. I was deciding what package, and I didn't think he'd go for the more expensive package, and I started putting like different amounts in, like maybe this is too high, this is too low, and then finally I said, I walked away and I came back and I just said to the universe, give me a number. And they gave the universe, I got 2 numbers, I wrote them down, and I sent off the proposal, and then he called me like 3 days later and he goes, I think I want to go for the higher one. I would have never written that big a number down, but I just let it go.
Awesome.
That's the other thing where this is working.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. That's wonderful. And logic told you this isn't too high where I'm going to upset the man or where he's going to walk away. I'm still giving him a choice between here, which is fair, and I'm also going to give him this option as well. And it's just beautiful when you follow your intuition. I love when that happens. So thank you for sharing. Good job. Good job.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to bring on Robin now. And Robin, just turning on your microphone and turning on your camera.
Hi.
Hello. So, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Just ask you to please share, if you feel comfortable, your full name, where you are, what you're noticing you would about, who you are, what drew you to the course, what you're hoping to get out of it, that type of thing.
My name is Robin Ryance, and I'm from Montana, and I am recently I've been a massage therapist, and I do healing work. I have come home. We had a death in the family, and I just needed to take time to take care of myself, and that's what drew me to your class, too, because to be able to move forward, because I was really feeling stuck, and I felt like I pulled myself in and pulled myself out of the community and away from people and just to myself. So, and then what was the other question?
No, it's good. So, shared with me, Robin, that you've had some intuitive gifts. Now, when you're a healer, when you're doing massage work, you have intuitive gifts automatically. I mean, there's very few massage therapists that I'm attracted to. Anyway, I've been to a few, that are more clinical, let's say, that don't necessarily follow their intuition. But for you and for people that are drawn to my course, who are the healers, very intuitive. And would you agree that you're pretty empathic as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And I've been that way my whole life. And I've been like as a child, I was able to see people on the other side. They looked solid to me. I could see them really clear. I did get in a lot of trouble for telling people about it, so it went away, and then it came back again. And when I started doing healing work and massage, it was coming back more and more. And I am very empathic. In fact, that's probably some of the reason I needed to go away from massage, because I would want to help so much I would just kind of absorb their stuff, and they'd go home feeling good and I didn't. But that's stuff we learn how to deal with that and take care of it. But I've always been intuitive. It's always been simple. I thought everybody was like that, and I've always been able to even hear from people on the other side to give people messages. But when we lost our son, it's like I started questioning myself, and like, am I really hearing that? And I put too much into it, like it meant more than getting someone else who I don't know things from, to now it's like I want it, I have to hear it, so I got a little bit too, and it seems like I just made myself not trust myself, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the pieces that I can share is having worked with so many parents who have lost their children, and loss is a loss, whether they were just little babies or toddlers, or whether or not they were grown adults. A loss is a loss, and it does mess with the circle of life and the fact that you feel like your child is supposed to outlive you. And when that circle of life gets tampered with, we do feel really, really turned around. And what I've discovered with the intuitives, with the healers, with the empaths who have lost children in particular, is there was some part of them that knew that their child was going to leave. And I don't know whether or not this is true for you, but the guilt is really the biggest factor. I remember working specifically with a woman who had lost her son, and remember her saying to me, I knew when he was born that he was going to have a short life. I just knew it. But I did everything that I could think of to prolong it. I, fed him well. I did Reiki. I did everything that I could think of, really hoping that I was wrong. And it feels to me like I'm sharing this with you for a reason, Robin. So can you relate to this at all?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can relate to that. In fact, I had a memory the other day of a poem that I read after he was born, and it was like he was on loan to me from God, like he's not going to be, you know what I mean? I don't remember the poem, I just remember that I had read it. And I think back then, I think through my whole life, and even his life, that I was given little things all along. And after he died, I was mad at God, and why didn't, but I did have dreams. I was getting information. I just didn't want it to be true. So I didn't want to look at it, and I didn't want to see it. But even through my life, I'm like, you were looking out for me all along. I just didn't know why. I thought it was a curse or something,
Yeah.
or, yeah.
So lead me down the path of your personality before your son's death. Let's go there for a minute, okay? Because as I was meditating, I was preparing. I mean, I had no idea that this Elite Seats was going to be around the soul needs of person. Excuse me, person. But the soul needs of personalities is we get really, really hung up, and we get stuck in certain areas. So take me back, if you would, to a time when your family was a unit and you were really comfortable in your skin, you were comfortable with your intuition, you were comfortable with who you were. How would you describe yourself in terms of kind of more of a socializer, more of a relator, being an empath? Describe yourself for me.
I think I've mostly been more of a loner, not so much of a social, but not that I didn't like it. I could handle, being around a few people, and there was times when I was in different businesses and I was around a lot of people, but I think I tend to more be a loner, kind of, or have a few friends, and
yeah, that's a typical empath, by the way. Is empaths really can get along with people, but they can only be around people for so long, and then they have to go off on their own and kind of dump the energy type of thing, so that you can relate to.
Yes, definitely.
Now, the fact that you're a healer and you're in the line of work with people does tell me that you're more of a relator personality. Like you said, I'm not much of a socializer. I have, some really key close friends. Mm-hmm. I want to just take a moment and I want to talk about the socializer for just a minute. Now, you might be able to relate to certain parts of this, but I know that on the call we're going to have a couple people who can relate to this. So I'm just going to go into this briefly, and then I'm going to focus more attention on the relator piece. The socializer is really animated and gregarious and optimistic, and you like to be the center of attention, and the fact that you're influential. You have excellent verbal skills. So those of you who can relate to that, you know what that is. You get that. As a soul, your primary need is recognition. It's to be recognized. It's to be seen. It's to be heard. It's to get attention, and sometimes it's getting attention, in weird ways. And so when you're under pressure and you have this type of a soul needs of a personality, you have a tendency to talk louder or to talk faster or, hey, notice me. If not, you might blow up, or your stories might become even more exaggerated, or try to get attention of the party. These are people who really do throw adult temper tantrums if they're not getting their own way or if people are ignoring them. And so again, we all have this, every single one of us, but some of these are primary. The biggest fear for this personality type is being overlooked, being ignored, missing out, like, gosh, how come I wasn't part of that party, or how come I didn't know about that? They're the nose for news that has to know everything first. And they also have this ability to, kind of like the analyzer, we talked about how with the analyzer that their fear is to be intellectually challenged, and that the director, their fear was to be physically harmed or injured. With the socializer, the fear is they're missing out, and so they feel spiritually empty inside. Something's missing. There's something missing. Maybe I'm not getting enough community. Maybe how come I'm being overlooked? Now, the socializer is also people oriented in the fact that you want to serve, you want to be able to be with people. The socializer is more the party planner, With you, Robin, you're more of the relator. And so the relator is really, let's just all get along. Let's just please get along, because I'm really sensitive and I don't want to argue. I don't want to make waves. If I make waves, let me be the one to rock the boat. No one else, type of thing. So sometimes when we look through the lens of being this relator, we can become super agreeable. We can be so considerate and so loyal and so likable. We're the best friend in the world. Like, I'm committed to you, I'm loyal to you. Unless you really do something wrong, you're in my circle for life. Like you said, you have close friends, they're really tight, and so you're very, very loyal to them. You're very helpful, you're very friendly, you're extremely patient, extremely kind. Mm-hmm. This is all when you're balanced, when everything's going well. It's a real sense of belonging. You like to be in comfort zone, you like predictability, you like things to just keep going along where you can really kind of stay in your zone. When things get shaken up, when your world gets rocked, such as your son dying, it can really turn you around. And when it turns you around, especially as a relator, as an empath, you can become overly emotional, and you can swing to such extremes in terms of mood that you want to end your life, you don't want to be here anymore, you could care less about friendships, I'm sorry, I can hardly even take care of myself. So everything just becomes, you push everybody away, and it really just goes to the extreme. You become extremely indecisive. You can't make decisions, you procrastinate, you become extremely negative. This is all part of this soul personality, the relator. You can become extremely submissive. You can have what I call volcano tendencies, where you take it for so long and then it's just, right? You can become overly accommodating, like, yeah, okay, you're just going to say yes and keep and then not be able to commit. You also, in the work world, we see this a lot with relators. They become very passive-aggressive. They say to their boss, oh, sure, boss, I'll keep doing that for you. I'll keep doing that for you. I'll keep doing that for you. And then the kindness and the loyalty and the commitment doesn't come back, and so they're bringing the boss the cup of coffee, and they spit in it first. So, this is really extremes, and as I said, we all kind of, maybe some of us think it, we don't actually do it, but these are just tendencies that the relator can sometimes have. The fear, that soul fear that goes on, is your biggest fear is to not belong, to be rejected, to have some type of conflict in your life, and to have emotional pain. It's, I'm going to open myself up, I'm going to be committed, I'm going to be loyal, I'm going to be there for you, I'm going to give all of myself to you, and now my heart is open and hurt, devastated. So to love a child, to love a son, to bring him in through your body, into your life the way that you did, and then to be rejected by God and told, he's mine again, so sorry, we can say and become completely distant from our Maker and be like, I want nothing to do with you anymore, and this is where you pushed all your gifts away. And so my question to you is, after pushing everybody away, which is totally normal, after not wanting anything to do, after knowing that that emotional pain came in the way that it did, after feeling like you were so loyal, I followed my intuition, I did everything that you asked, and then you took my son, are you really? Yeah. Having felt all of that, what is it that's brought you to this course? Honestly, what brought you to this course?
Honestly, the thing that made me upset was, you know, you gave me this gift, you put this healing energy in my hand, all these things, and I couldn't help my son, you know, but I realized that the reason I couldn't help my son was because of, you know, the people in his life that, my family, you know. I feel like I actually may have went closer to God, but, I mean, I was mad because I just didn't get it, and I was sad because my son was gone, but really it was hard because, you know, after his death, my whole family rejected me and kicked me out, kicked me away from them, and I didn't deserve that.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of and I know it was their grief, probably, but I was literally kicked out of houses and kicked away from people.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of the story of my life, really.
Yeah.
You know?
I see, when we come in with that soul perspective, right? And this is why I'm going here with everybody, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When we come in with the soul need, a soul personality need, yours was to belong.
Yes, and I've never felt that.
And to feel rejected and excommunicated again and again and again, the same way that Pam puts herself out there with precision and detail and wants it to be accurate and be right, and then to have someone make her feel stupid again and again and again. Mm-hmm. Why does this occur? Why do we as souls take human form and look through lenses and get challenged in this way? So intuitively, when we go within and we feel into it, we recognize there are life lessons. We are learning something. And it all comes down to that flow and that extreme and finding balance. Because when you are in balance, Robin, when you feel good about yourself, you are kind, you are patient, you are loyal, you are a healer, you are in that flow, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
True? Okay.
Yes.
So let's go back to my question. What is it that's happened from the time that you signed up to this course till now that's brought you to where you are now? Because as an empath, as your instructor, there were days where I lost you. You were gone. You were drowning in you were. And some people in the class still are. But you've bobbed to the surface and you're here talking to people. What occurred? What happened? What have you done?
I think I lost connection with myself and trusting myself, and with the class, I think that a lot of that trust has come back, you know, and I've had it proven to me by things we did in the class, things that came up that I'm like, what in the heck is that about? You know, I couldn't figure it out, but within a day or two, it's like it made perfect sense, and I mean, it was crazy. Like, what could this mean? And then it was so perfect. And so I feel like I've learned to trust myself again. The lines are opening up more. You know, the clairs, you know, the different things. And I think I needed to learn to trust God and trust myself more, you know, again.
Yeah. And
because I lost that.
One thing that I'll add is that when all those who are closest to us, our family, our loved ones, begin to unplug from us, begin to reject us, begin to leave us, we go into such a deep, what's left? I mean, honestly, to go within, to either enter life, which some do, or to go within and to anchor yourself down into the core of who you are and to reconnect yourself there. And it feels to me like that's what you've done. Now, is it gonna take away the fact that your son is no longer in physical form? Absolutely not. Will you still feel those waves of pain that just wash over you and you tear up and you get the lump in your throat? And yes,
yeah,
you know, you're still going to have those days where your heart's still going to hurt, where you just miss him, you know, horribly, where you miss your family, where you wonder, you know, what would it have been like if he'd still be living? Would I still have this relationship with so-and-so and so-and-so?
Mm-hmm.
When you start to allow your thoughts to go in those directions, though, you're giving energy to that. And what it feels like you're starting to recognize is not to give too much energy to those things, to give yourself permission to feel the waves of energy, to be in the now. Now I feel sad. And now I'm getting memories of my family. And now I'm feeling melancholy. And now I'm letting it go. Okay, so I'm going to turn on some happy music, and I'm going to keep moving in a different direction. And this is for you why moving and walking backwards and doing things differently, I've really, really stressed the importance of this. So in terms of some of the insights that you've received so far, what are some of the most helpful things that have worked for you?
Well, just while you were talking, I was thinking about, I get all of them. I get the feelings and the hearing and the, you know, in my, somewhere up here, I get a picture. I get the third eye visions. I do get smells and all of it. And I like it all. The thing that happened just not long ago is I woke up in the morning and I was really sad again, and I started getting into a pattern I didn't want to get up. And what popped into my head, I'll usually have a song or something pops into my head first thing in the morning, and the thing that popped in was, Robin, you're living in the spiritual and the emotional way too much, and the only way to remedy that is to go to the physical and the mental. So go do something physically, or go do your checkbook, or do something like that. And I listened, which sometimes I don't listen. But I listened, and so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to turn some music on and do things, and not, if it creeps in, I'm just going to say not right now because I'm listening to my intuition, you know. So, and that helped me so much that day. It really helped me. And then I did get a vision doing a meditation, and I couldn't figure out what it meant. And it was like a gopher digging a hole, but he was digging in the ground on the road, and it was really hard. And he had this pile of soft dirt in a circle, and it was just digging and digging and couldn't get through that hard surface. And then the gopher went over and laid down. And it was like, that's how I feel. After I read about it on a, you know, Native American medicine type thing, I just thought, that's how I feel. Like, I'm not listening, I'm not getting, you know, I'm digging so hard and I'm trying so hard that I'm just making myself tired. And that would be like intuition, I think, and trying to hear my son and these things, yeah.
Yes. And whereas I was talking to Pam about balancing and getting out of head, for you, what you just described was releasing that pushing, that trying, that efforting from the heart.
Yeah.
And just doing something different, moving in a different way, going into the intellect for a little while, playing there, going down into the body, being physical, you know, stretching, dancing, moving, doing something different. And so there's no, and I'm saying this to everybody, there's no cookie cutter here. There's no formula here. There's no, this is the way it's supposed to be. every day, flow is flow, and flow moves. It ebbs, it tides, flow is flow. And so it's about finding the balance. If you feel overly emotional, what Robin just said is huge. You're getting floods of emotion, do something different. Pump up the intellect. Go do something physical. If your head hurts, you're getting a headache, you're overthinking, you're stuck in worry, anxiety, etc., because you can't get something right or you feel like you're losing control, again, move differently. Go backwards. Take your energy, spin it instead of a clockwise, spin it in a counterclockwise direction. Breathe. In the energies of heart space. All of these things are going to be very helpful. So, Robin, what I'd like for you to do, as we're going to go through a meditation, it's probably going to take about 10 minutes. We're going a little bit over, but I feel like it's worth it. I'd like for you to go through the relator door, okay? So when we go into the meditation, you'll go through the relator door. Pam, you're going to go through the analyzer door. And just briefly, before I get into the four again and describe them briefly so everybody can get on the same page, is there anything else, Robin, that you'd like to add or share?
No, I'm just so happy that I took the class. I really needed it. I didn't know how stuck I was in life until actually after we started the class and talked about some things, and I realized how stuck I was. And so I feel like it's been very helpful to get me moving a little forward more.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I'm honored that both of you came on and shared, and I just want to briefly just go over those really quick. So these are, I'm going to ask each of you to choose a door. Don't worry about, if you have a tendency to worry about getting things wrong, then you might be like, oh, what if I choose the wrong door? That's probably is an indication that you want to get it right. So that's my tip to you. And just know that as we go through this, you can always go back and repeat this. You can just fast forward it to this part, repeat this until all four doors are accessed. So basically just choose a door. Choose the director door, which you have a tendency to want to be right. You have a fear of being judged, a fear of being overpowered, a fear of physically being injured or harmed. Choose either that or the analyzer door. The analyzer door is you have a need to be in control. You fear being wrong. You fear being made to look stupid. You fear being intellectually challenged in some way. The socializer door is you like popularity and being recognized, being seen, being heard. You have a fear of being overlooked or ignored. You have a fear of missing out, and you feel spiritually empty. The relator is you just really want to belong. You want to feel like you have a place where you have friends who are as loyal and as loving as you. You have a fear of being rejected. You have a fear of conflict. You have a fear of having emotional pain. So each of you are going to be in different spots. Maybe tomorrow this door isn't appropriate, but today it is. This is how it works. So there are no rights or wrongs here. Just follow your intuition. What I'd like for everybody to do is to just, I'm going to actually turn my light off here a little bit. So everybody just close your eyes. And notice where your energy is. And then just notice, am I more in my head matrix? And if so, start to move it down into the heart. And then down into the belly and the hips. And then adjust it, kind of like when you're adjusting a tablecloth on a table. You might need to adjust your field a bit. Just notice, is it to the left, is it to the right, is it in front of me, behind me, above me, below me? Just find your center and start to breathe from the center point. Excellent. Now as you continue to breathe in and out, move all your attention for a moment to the top of your head. And just imagine that somebody, maybe even you, is massaging the top of your head just really, really the way that you enjoy it. Just getting into the temples and around the brows and behind the back of the head and all along the scalp, just really relaxing. Feeling it in the jaw, around the nasal cavity. It's really good. And then the back of the neck and the shoulders, a nice massage, a deep massage, a comfortably relaxing massage, deep in the back of the shoulders, loosening the shoulders. You might even raise your shoulders a bit and then let them drop. You might even move your head a bit just to get that energy of healing and relaxation flowing. And then allow it to keep dropping. Notice if you're holding any tension in your chest, and if so, you might extend and expand your chest. Just breathe for a minute, and then let it out. Same thing with your abdomen. Push it out for a minute, and then release. Good. Feeling that massage continuing down the spine. Relaxing the lower back into the hips. Massaging the thighs and the knees. Feeling it in the calves and the shins. And then giving yourself a nice, beautiful foot massage. Just working it in, the insteps of the feet, the toes. Just feeling that beautiful massage working its way. If you're holding your legs at all in a stiff way, just stretch them out. You might even rotate your ankles a bit. You might even move your toes. Just allow that energy, that healing energy, to start to move. It's okay to move during these meditations. In fact, it can really help. Draw in the earth, the Mother Earth energy, up through the soles of your feet. And then bring in your hands. Just allow your hands to drop comfortably by your sides as you begin to move your fingertips, rotate your wrists. Good. Now do an energy field check again and begin to breathe through your center. Now, in a moment, I'm going to start counting back from 10 to 1. I want you to imagine yourself on a beautiful staircase and physically feeling your hand on a handrail and imagining your feet are coming down on the stairs. With each descending number, you're relaxing even more, you're grounding even deeper, you're centering yourself, expanding into that energy field. And 10, feeling yourself taking that first step down, deeper and deeper. 9, 8, 7, continuing to breathe through your center. 6, 5, halfway down now, just feeling your feet, noticing the temperature, bringing in that beautiful sunshine, allowing yourself to be moving now into a beautiful, beautiful space, knowing below you there are 4 doors. 4, stepping down deeper and deeper. 3, 2, allowing your intuition to lead you. 1, stepping down now. Just take notice that very first door, that beautiful door that we'll call the director type. The director type with the need to be right. The director type that gets to the point, that's a decisive go-getter, very, very powerful and confident. That second door we'll call the analyzer type, detailed, systematic, concise, accurate, likes order and security, likes to be in control. That socializer is the third door. Just notice it, feel the energy of it. Gregarious, animated, persuasive, optimistic. Loves to be the center of attention, excellent verbal skills. Loves to be recognized. And that last, or the relator. Super agreeable at times, considerate, loyal, likable, patient, kind. Loves to have that sense of belonging, predictability. Just notice where your inner wisdom is guiding you. Notice what door is open. It might even surprise you which door you're being guided to go through. Follow it and trust it. As you move through it, just spend some time breathing from your center and noticing what comes up for you. Now, in a moment, whatever that fear is for you, that fear is going to kind of float in like a cloud or a magic carpet. But I want you to actually sit, allow that fear to act like a vehicle in some way. Whether that fear is the fear of being judged or physically injured, or the fear is being wrong and intellectually challenged, or the fear is being overlooked and ignored or feeling spiritually empty, or the fear is feeling rejection and emotional pain. Whatever that is, allow it to be your vehicle. Just notice how it's showing up for you. Comfortably allow it to move you. And it's going to move you into a place of surrender. A place where you completely let go. For you see, when we say letting go, it implies that we're still attached to something. And so you'll notice that that fear, that vehicle, is moving you. And as it moves you into that place of surrender, into that beautiful energy that I like to call nothingness, you'll notice it disappears. That fear is gone. And notice what your inner wisdom, what your intuition has to say now. When we move directly into the energies of whatever it is that's hanging us up, and when we give it permission to become the vehicle to move us, when we use it rather than resist it, we can give it permission to move us. Sometimes we have to allow it to go in reverse. So there might be times where you get on that vehicle and it's not taking you into surrender, it's not taking you into that place of nothingness, that place of peace. And if that's the case, put it in reverse. When you feel yourself arriving, notice any insights, any wisdom that comes in. Notice where flow is. Now, as you're staying in this beautiful, relaxed state, there's something that I like to share with a lot of my private clients. It's called the Map of Consciousness. It was created by a man named Dr. David Hawkins, who has since left this world, but he was an MD and a PhD, and he wrote this great book called The Power versus Force. And the Map of Consciousness actually calibrates and measures different feelings. And so, for example, when we're feeling guilt, we're calibrating at about a 30, which is really low. When we're in a state of grief, we're calibrating at a 75, a little higher than guilt, but still pretty despondent. When we calibrate in a place of neutrality, a place of nothingness, we move into self-trust. We let go, we release, we surrender, and that calibrates at a 250. So where you are right now is in an energetic calibration of 250. And between now and the next module, I'd like for you to keep moving through those fears, reintegrating, allowing that blueprint to come in so that you can begin moving and calibrating into hope again, which calibrates around a 310. And then move into transcendence, harmony, and acceptance, which is about a 350. And in order for that to happen, you must forgive. You must forgive your maker. You must forgive those around you. And you forgive yourself. That's the only way transcendence and acceptance of your gifts, of yourself, and of all that happens can move you into that 350 is through forgiveness. So if you still have any forgiveness work to do, I ask you to please do that between now and the next module. Really allow yourself time. Give yourself permission to transcend so that you're ready for the spiritual yes and the spiritual no in our next module. So just take a few more deep breaths. I thank you all for allowing me to be here with you. Thank you for each of my special guests. I wish you all a beautiful, beautiful day, evening, wherever you are in the world. And we will connect again in our next modules. And until we meet again, as I like to say, enjoy the experience.